Welcome everybody to today's webinar hosted on behalf of Vertiv. My name is Shannon Derehove and I'll be assisting the speakers in today's session. Before we get started, please note the chat and the Q&A are available to you. Please post your questions in the Q&A and your comments in the chat. Both the Q&A and the chat are at the bottom of your screen. Please also be aware that we're recording this webinar and we'll send the recording to you when it's available. We're also streaming live to YouTube. Today's panel aims to address power-related industrial challenges and the Vertiv solutions to overcome these challenges. Panelists will provide a better understanding of the issues driving industrial sector decisions and the solutions that can help impact the industry positively. This session will be chaired by Collaboretix MD Nils Gerstle. Nils has worked in many different environments over the years, from SMEs to corporates, and has managed teams, led people, and formulated and implemented strategies for a diverse range of industries. Without further ado, I'll hand over now to Nils to introduce the panelists and start the discussion. Over to you, Nils.
Thank you, Shannon. Welcome, everybody, to the Vertiv's Industrial Solutions Seminar. We have attendees from all over Africa, in fact, even as far as Europe and Canada. So welcome to everybody. And in this webinar, as Shannon already mentioned, we'll be addressing the major challenges of commercial and industrial sectors through innovative infrastructure solution technologies, specifically focusing on power. On our panel, we have Wojtek, Piorko, the Managing Director for Africa at Vertiv. Wojtek joined the Middle East and Africa team around 8 years ago, and over this time he's gained a deep experience with several roles and within several roles and regions. We also have Duncan, the Technical Director for Africa at Vertiv, who has more than 25 years of experience within the critical power and cooling industry. And then we have also Jaco, Duvenhage, the CEO of Swakop Electrical in Namibia. He's joining us all the way from Namibia. In fact, most of the team is actually sitting in my hometown in Namibia. So welcome, everybody. And Jaco, has an electrical engineering degree and has been focusing mainly on the mining and heavy industry and petrochem sectors with the solutions he's provided to his customers. So Vertiv is well known in the data center space and the solutions that they provide in the data center space. Wojtek, could you maybe give us a bit of insight into what Vertiv provides in the industrial sector?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nils. Thanks for the introduction. I've counted the years of experience on the panel and it's scary. We are still young and handsome. How come? I don't know. But thanks for the question, Nils. So maybe let me step back a bit. Vertiv has been in Africa for more than 50 years, and up until 2 years ago, Africa was part of Middle East and Africa region. But as I said, 2 years ago, we decided that Africa deserves a very specific attention. And we built a dedicated team for Africa, and I was appointed Managing Director for Africa. We are still part of EMEA region. However, we are very self-sufficient with all the teams built in the region. Currently, we have a direct presence in 5 countries. That's South Africa, Nigeria, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya. We have 4 offices. The last one, the missing one is Cairo, but I hope we'll be able to open an office in Cairo next year. But other countries, we have direct presence with offices, and offices is not only a place where our team sits, but also a very important part of our strategy, which is called Customer Experience Center, where you can get pre-sale sales, but also service certification. How you divide the market as such, many companies will have different approach. We have an approach of dividing whole market into 3 verticals, which is colocation and hyperscale, telco, and commercial and industrial, which is everything what goes around oil and gas, mining, retail, finance, governmental, you name it. As you correctly said, Nils, last 5 years, main focus was on colo, and telco, with huge investments from global players on the colo side and local telcos in Africa. And we have many success stories in that space. However, with a bit of a slower growth on both colo and telco side, we decided to focus a bit more now on very underpenetrated, I must be honest, commercial and industrial market. First, we are trying to understand what can we provide for commercial and industrial customers. And it seems like, say, 50 to 70% of needs can be addressed with a standard let's call it data center portfolio. But we also have very specific, dedicated industrial solutions. And we are now building a team to make sure that we can support C&I customers with not only standard solutions, but also industrial solution. So to answer your question, Nils, what can we offer? I think it's a good mix of global experience and expertise with a local environment understanding. I would say wide portfolio, if not the widest on the market, very wide portfolio of solutions and products. Strong technical support, and Jonathan here is leading our technical team for whole Africa. Flexibility to adapt to very specific customer needs. And what's, I think, also very, very important, specifically in Africa, very reliable after-sales support.
Thank you, Wojtek. So let's maybe just delve into, you mentioned that you were looking at basically 3 verticals, and obviously this seminars or this webinar is focused heavily on the commercial side of things. What inroads have you made into let's say the oil and gas or mining and heavy industry market as far as those solutions are concerned? You said you were busy building a team. What does that look like for Vertiv at the moment?
Gunnar, you want to address it? Or?
John?
Sorry. Yeah, so in terms of the team, we're recruiting and reinforcing our service ASP providers, as we call them, or certified partners. There will be a focus on these segments or this vertical. And then in terms of technology, we've, you've seen this Industry 4.0 explosion and the drive of tech, or let's say IT technology, into what was previously an industrial domain. This has put a lot of let's say, dichotomy type requirements where we've needed to come up with solutions to host that IT equipment within those typically harsh environments. So as Vertiv, we've got a whole array of products which, we can take the IT into the industrial space and look after it, keep it well maintained, while operating, as well as not just looking after the IT. We've also gone into the realms of ensuring the power, because if you look at the industries, more and more it's competitive. Everyone's driving efficiency. You've got to monitor your operation to make it more efficient, and that data is now becoming super crucial to the operation. In the past,
right,
that data was not available, whereas today it is, and now our customers are looking at that data and they're making their decisions based on that data. So it's super important that we look after it and keep it available 24/7, as well as look after their operation. And I mean, we talk the bigger picture where you start to look at the power quality and the dependence on good power. Then we start to look at new innovation, energy storage systems, different types of long run power solutions. Plus there's a sort of contradictory drive to be greener on the whole planet, and we're looking at new technologies, fuel cells, etc.
Thank you, John. I mean, so you've mentioned a whole mouthful for the uninitiated there of all the various technologies. You've mentioned stuff like battery energy storage, power security, fuel cells, etc. If we talk about the new technologies that are on the horizon at the moment, what are these new technologies that you are currently as Vertiv preparing for, and how will that impact the industrial markets?
Yeah, so probably one of the bigger buzzwords that's going through at the moment is obviously the battery energy storage systems, but you align them with a power conversion system that's doing a lot of harmonic filtering and cleaning up of the typical eddy currents that are running through the networks that ultimately ended up as waste energy. So we're looking at those solutions. We also, as I mentioned earlier, we've developed a whole portfolio of cabinets, smart aisles, smart rows, kind of equipment which we can then deploy into this harsh environment, high IP rated UPS systems that can deal with dusty environments. You've got particle filters on the front, etc. And there's things like that we've done. The other, what we've taken is some of our lessons from our big hyperscale experience, and we've brought that also back into this industry, and that's the densification. Footprint is becoming more and more of a concern, and the hyperscalers, it's probably the ultimate experience, but we do see that now in the industry as well. You don't have massive substations anymore. We've got to try and densify these solutions. So we bring in even these smart modules, as we call them, where we'll integrate a full UPS system and switchgear, etc., into like a 40-foot container type footprint, and that can go into a data center. We're talking 2 megs kind of power output. So yeah, we've got a vast portfolio of products. We're going to release some white papers and documents on the tail end of this presentation. So I invite all the attendees to download and have a look at that website.
Thank you, Jono. Maybe you were talking about, sort of these harsh environments. Jaco, as a provider of services to the end user or the end customer in this respect, what are you seeing? What sort of harsh environments are you seeing in terms of maybe some pain points that these type of industrial customers have when it comes to solutions that are available on the market?
I think just to start, before going to the details, is with the new technologies we've seen now with the Vertiv solutions is, and Jonathan touched on it quickly, is it is not necessarily all new technology. It's existing technologies that gets integrated now for a solution for these environments. We're talking typical mines are not situated in a city. It's situated somewhere in either a desert or remote area, seeing 40, 45 degrees Celsius, sometimes high humidities. And although for years Vertiv has been involved in finding, let's call it IT solutions, data center solutions, they've also on the sideline with a different portfolio served these markets from a power perspective, for example. So it's not necessarily that it's new that we've seen. It's basically just using one of the other subsidiaries' knowledge that they've gained or built over many years, that they've now started moving into the IT space, giving you the solutions from data availability, from communication systems, but now in this industrial, typical electrical space, as we call it. We have not seen it in the market. Our clients have struggled. These areas or buildings where these units are installed typically are not sealed. Dust, high levels of dust, etc. And Jonathan touched on the IP65 that they've brought in. So generally, we initially thought that Vertiv is only going to, let's say, test and trial this technology over a couple of years until they've proven. It's actually existing technologies that they've just managed to integrate now to find us a solution for the clients.
Wow. So that's, Namibia at the moment, you're right at the forefront of a lot of new technology that's happening, and there's a huge amount of new projects that are sprouting up in and around Namibia. A lot of them actually on the coast and also further down south, literally in the desert, never mind the other mines that exist. In these pain points, which is the most critical? You mentioned a number of different things. You mentioned stuff like high humidity, high heat. Which are the largest challenges out of those pain points, would you say?
Okay, so for us, heat and humidity in the desert is not such a big issue. Other areas we've got bigger challenges with that, but heat definitely being a big issue. Also availability of resources from power to water, and that makes these complete integrated solutions, whether e-houses or containerized, like Jonathan said, makes it quite a viable solution for us. But heat definitely a big factor together with dust for us.
Perfect. So maybe we can just quickly take a poll here on some of the things that we're talking about, please. And while that poll comes up, maybe I can ask you, Wojtek, how does Vertiv help its customers to achieve some of the sustainability efforts that customers are after? I mean, we're always talking about green, and sustainability is a big buzzword at the moment. But what are you doing as Vertiv to help the customer here?
Yeah, that's a good question, Nils. Thank you for that. I believe every company has its own approach to sustainability, how to measure it, or from which angle to look at it. My personal opinion is, and I'm open to a discussion and a challenge. What makes logical sense to me is to look at sustainability at the manufacturing side, operational side, and then post use or reuse side. I'll explain what I mean by all those. So on manufacturing side, it's fairly easy and logic. We must make sure that our supply chain is sustainable, sourcing from the right partners with proven environmental goals, but also looking at optimization on our side of processes. I mean, I'm happy to say that we are now a bit of a victim of our own success when we need to build new factories to maintain the lead times requested by markets. So we have the ability to put our experience and latest manufacturing trends into new factories, but also using recycled materials in our production, not only production, but also packaging, which is also part of the manufacturing. Then if you go to operational side of things, of course, green efficiency or highest efficiency possible. And I will mention later on the hybrid solution that we invented in Africa. So it's an African product. Low environmental impact products, like, for example, in our new chillers, which use less water. Or at the services side, low touch, we call it. Proactive maintenance software to make sure that we use less service visits. And to last point, sorry, I do not want to make it too long, but on the last point, reuse. We've noticed that in current situation where sometimes there are challenges with investment funds. Companies will look at refurbishment or optimization of existing portfolio of products, and we can, for example, again, going to DC power solution, adding solar functionality or higher efficiency rectifiers, you name it. But also an interesting concept that we tend to forget about, and I think we are the first one to start talking about it, reusing of certain components or complete solutions, like our IMS solutions, where you can put a data center, say, for example, in a mine. When the mining process is finished, and the mine will move somewhere else, you can easily move the solution with you without the need of buying a new one. So that's high level what we think on the sustainability side. Sorry to make it a bit longer than expected.
No, thank you, Wojtek. That's very helpful. So you've basically explained that we're dealing with the full life cycle of a particular product or solution from its manufacturing, let's say from cradle to grave, to coin a little phrase there for today. Obviously, Vertiv would be mainly in control of the manufacturing aspect and obviously on the recycling and reuse aspect. Let's talk a little bit about the operational side of things. Are you finding a major drive? Maybe this is actually a question for you, Jaco. Are you finding there's a major drive where customers are actually asking for, sustainable products that have been manufactured sustainably? We're not just talking about, obviously, from an expense perspective and a return on investment perspective, but from an environmental, sustainability perspective. Are you finding that customers at the moment are in Africa in particular are interested in that?
Yeah, in our market, carbon footprint is quite a big buzzword nowadays. So generally in the mining industrial sectors, it's always been looking for greener, more neutral type of solutions. But coupled to that, what we've seen, for example, in the Namibian market that has even a bigger impact is Namibia is known for uranium production, and the uranium production is seen as clean or green energy. If your carbon footprint, however, is too big, then suddenly the uranium becomes a less greener type of energy. So the mines locally have pushed quite hard into these carbon neutral solutions, providing a greener energy source basically for the market.
Thank you, Jaco. Was there something that you're finding from a high level perspective, Wojtek, to maybe add to that? Are you finding that the African market is starting to actually drive the green approach?
Absolutely. And every now and then in the project at the very early stage, there is a question not about the solution, but how we can contribute to the sustainability target of a specific customer. And one specific example comes to my mind when we were informed by one of our customers that thanks to our hybrid solar DC power solution that is yet again designed and manufactured in Africa specifically for African market, contributed in a very large dollar number to the savings on a diesel fuel to genset. So it's we're seeing more and more coming to the picture as one of the requirements. So it's not only efficiency, it's not only size of the solution on a battery backup, but also how can we contribute to sustainability targets of the customer.
Thank you, Wojtek. So let's just talk about maybe, and so part of this is obviously we mentioned redeployment and reuse of equipment. I would imagine that your smart mod type product fits quite well into that category. John, can you maybe give us a little bit of an overview of your smart product?
Yeah, so when we start talking or referring to smart solutions, we have sort of like a rack-based solution where you could have small IT requirement and that can be put into a hostile environment. Then we go to the, through our contained rows and aisles, and then we get into the smart mods as we're talking more referencing today, where we can build complete power stations in a module that can be moved around as the mine moves possibly. And even high compute clusters, in particular with exploration guys, where you're processing a lot of, let's say, geophysical data, and you need to run through that and process it. So that's one option. And yes, the beauty of the units is 90% of the materials used within a smart mod is recyclable. Not so much as the case when you're talking concrete in that. So when one looks at the embedded carbon of a redeploying a module that's been used or amortized in terms of carbon footprint before, and you're reusing it, yes, you're completely saving that carbon, that embedded carbon footprint. So yeah, we've got a full portfolio of these sort of solutions, from small single units that ship as a single unit to multi-bay units to really big multi-bay units where we can host huge amounts of compute power and or UPS systems.
Pretty much what we've got up on the screen at the moment. Maybe Wojtek, if you could just take us through maybe the first two, and just give us an idea sort of what application the Smart Mod Max and the Smart Mod would be for, and then take us through to your larger installations, which are 220 kilowatts and greater.
So whole concept of modular design started with the customer requirement, and we basically started from the scratch. Here is a customer requirement. Here is our engineering team. We go and design basically from the scratch whole solution as per customer requirements to a very nitty-gritty details. Once customer will approve it, we'll go into manufacturing phase, testing, and delivery. And many customers were very happy with that because that was a very tailor-made solution for their specific needs or location, made for purpose. However, more and more customers will ask us for a fast deployable modular solution. And we come up with a concept of a pre-designed solution. So customer will come to us and say, well, I need that many racks and this specification. We would always say, yes, we can design it for you. However, we have a predefined, almost off-the-shelf solution for you. If you are happy, these are the differences. So we'll clearly discuss, these are what you need, this is what we can give you. Maybe then customer would say, look, in fact, your solution fits my requirements even better. So we have advantage of understanding of customer needs, faster deployment, hence the idea of smart solution, pre-designed, fast deployable, and scalable solutions for the market. Worth mentioning is a smart mod family is now growing because the market is changing. And we have now currently pre-designed, predefined solutions that are able to host AI ready capacity. As we know, AI requires or high computing requires higher powers. Then we have a solution for that as well.
Well, maybe we could just take a look at the very first slide here in terms of what is actually inside one of these smart mods there. If we could just slide over to that, please, Jackie. While we're busy finding that slide, Jonna, could you maybe take us through some of the companies that you're currently working in partnership with that are actually driving some of this high density or densification, as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so that's very exciting, excuse me, very exciting rounds. So we're partnering with some of the big chip manufacturers, NVIDIA and Intel, and they sort of leading the charge in terms of how much bandwidth or throughput you can go through, brute force computing you can physically get to. Obviously, the more computing you do and the bigger your sample, the more accurate will become your result. And that's the basis of AI, basically. And, you know, you've got to enable that. And what's very exciting for me is often you'll get a type of technology that'll leave others behind. And it'll be pioneering, but it's hamstrung. It can only move so fast, and it's got to wait for other technologies to catch up. Today, these big industry leaders are working with us, and we're partnering with them right up there on the forefront. So as they're developing, we're designing to meet their requirements. And that's enabling this very fast progression in AI adoption and these big, call them GPU-based monster servers, basically. While they're small, they're doing huge throughput. I saw an analysis and something like what used to take 32 hours of compute can be done within a second.
Wow, that's amazing.
If I can chip into that, on a global side, but let me refer to Africa. We have a product that was developed with our customers specifically in kind of a mutual understanding of what customer needs, and we designed. We sat around the table with the customer, understand the needs with our local African R&D team. A specific telco tower company where the main pain points were safety or security, reliability, efficiency, and easiness of maintenance. And we came up with a solution of a DC power hybrid system, which can be installed either on-grid, off-grid places, using for support of the power using either grid or genset or solar or batteries as a source, and our controller will choose which one is available or which one is the cheapest one. So it's not only global alliances, but also very local, to meet very local specific needs that we can be proud of.
Thank you, Wojtek. That's very interesting. And maybe just sort of off the top, just to give our audience an understanding. Jono, you mentioned obviously higher densities. I mean, your average cabinet, or as people call them, racks, is somewhere between 5 and 10 kilowatts these days for simple colos, if I can call them that. But for some of the higher densities, what are we talking about in terms of power consumption per cabinet?
Yeah, so we see real life requirements exceeding 100 kilowatts in a cabinet, which is, I mean, it's beyond the realms of sort of traditional air cooling. We've got to go to liquid and more exotic ways of cooling things. And there's even projection to be at about 250 kilowatts in a cabinet, and these will be full immersion systems, because it's just another way to address that heat that you've got to remove.
Well, that is some serious power and some serious heat that you have to deal with there. And so you've been working with the likes of the NVIDIAs and other chip manufacturers to actually get to the forefront of this. And then I would imagine that customers in the likes of Africa are obviously benefiting from all this research and development that you're doing. Jaco, if I may ask you, what of these particular rapid deployments and so on, where are you seeing most of this type of product, or where do you foresee most of this type of product actually being beneficial in which type of industry, if we're talking mining and industrial?
That is quite a difficult question to answer. I don't think there's one answer. It's going to depend on your market. We've got in Namibia now this explosion with oil and gas. Now remember, oil and gas, especially the offshore, they're all modular, small units that they want deployed on the platforms, moved from one platform to another. So that, of course, creates quite a big opportunity for these types of solutions. Similar on the mining side, you've got mines either moving around or mines looking at, once they go into closure, moving that unit to another site or another country. Even we've got opportunities, and then even in our infrastructure where we've got either agriculture, water, telecom, everything moves around. So, and I think that's a nice thing about this solution is you can move it. And that's the one thing we have not seen in industry before. Once you've physically constructed that building, you've installed your servers, you've installed your UPSs, whatever you require, that's it. You're going to need to break it down and build it somewhere else, where this one, you just load on a truck and you go and deploy it somewhere else. So it's all over. There's no single answer for that one.
Thank you, Jaco. Let's talk about maybe the speed of this type of deployment, or the speed of build and delivery. We've talked about how it's nice to be able to redeploy and move this type of kit around. From first engagement until delivery on site, what sort of lead times are we looking at there, Jono?
Yeah, so it's, with these prefabricated modular type solutions, a lot of it's basically fully integrated before it ships out, and normally we'll do like L1 to L3 testing before it even is deployed. So yeah, when it comes to on-site time saving, we're looking at probably 50 to 70% of savings when we deploy, which is quite substantial. And there's another elements, quite a few other elements that come into play. You don't have to be running generators whilst you're busy assembling, and that's fuel pollution, CO2 emissions. All of that gets done off-site in a factory, which is a beautiful controlled environment. Workers are at ease, there's no overstressing or people work on top of each other. And it just, when it comes together, it just comes seamless. It's pieces together, and it's so much simpler. Cuts down a lot of that retrofitting time as well, because, oops, this guy's bumped that, now I've got to go and refix this or reattach that. That's all out of the way, and not an issue when you deploy these modular prefabricated solutions.
Well, and I would also imagine that obviously in terms of assembly, you have a way better quality inspection methodology that you can employ while assembling these modular builds. And I would also imagine that it also cuts down on needing in-country type expertise, so you can control all of that. Are we seeing a real benefit to the customer or the end user, I should rather ask?
Yeah, definitely. And it's sort of, in some, there's definitely a benefit all the time, basically. But in some cases, it can be extreme. You may be in a remote area where you just cannot get access to good project management skills, or even access to raw materials to build if you're going regular brick and mortar. So by having a lot of the stuff done and tested off-site and simply clipped together when you get to site, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
If I can chip into that, Nils, and you're on mute. But I got you.
I wasn't
So
fasting.
if I can add to that,
Yes,
we can also build this rapid deployment concept not only based on the solution side, but also on a business model. So what we are trying to do now is looking at specific countries and distribution partners, what we can stock in the country in a simple model of IT distribution. So UPS is up to 100 kilowatts, most probably PDUs or racks, but also kind of a system integrator kind of a mindset where we, for specific markets for specific customers, we keep a stock of very specific products in country. We can also go to that length, which we've done already for one specific customer, to sit with the customer based on a bit of a commitment. We can build a local stock of very specific products when a customer can see what's available from the stock, what's on production side, even what are the spares or components that we have in the country to manufacture more, so we can make sure that we are fully aligned in terms of implementation. Some of those implementations, specifically for telco customers or tower companies, it's hundreds of systems that they have to deploy as well based on availability and deliveries from vendors. So we can do the kind of an open smart sheet concept where inputs from customer and from our operations team put together, build a whole plan, easy to manage in terms of implementation.
Well, and I would imagine that would be great also from a duplication perspective, so that you can keep duplicating this model. You don't have to keep going back to the drawing board, and it's always the same quality. And I would imagine also from a maintainability perspective, it's always the same module. So you don't have a technician who's not familiar with the site who's going to do maintenance on site. Let's talk about that just for a moment in terms of maintainability. What is Vertiv's African footprint when it comes to serviceability, Wojtek?
In fact, service team is the biggest team from our organization. It's a bit of a hybrid model where in the service organization, of course, we have a leader services director for Africa. We have dedicated Vertiv service experts in each region. So I've mentioned 5 regions. In each of those regions, we have dedicated service experts. And these experts will predominantly serve as first line of support or training. They're all certified trainers as well to provide the certification training in country. We also have one specific country we started it for one specific customer. Now it's growing a little bit bigger. We have a direct presence, service presence in Nigeria, in central region. As I mentioned, the concept is hybrid. So we also work with certified regional authorized service providers, we call them, to bring our expertise and their local experience and knowledge along with Vertiv certification. I've mentioned the concept of customer experience center. In 4 our offices, we provide pre-sales, sales, but also service certification to our partners. And we can discuss with our customers different models of services, depend on what is the need. Some will need just a simple warranty. We can go through different SLA models, including the model where we train services or maintenance team of a customer to become like a first responder on site. But also up to a dedicated 24 hours on-site support with dedicated spares on site. So different models depends on what customer needs.
Thank you, Wojtek. Maybe Jaco, if I may ask you, what has been your experience talking about the support that Wojtek is, not to put you on the spot, but that Wojtek has been talking about. What is your experience with Vertiv on the ground when it comes to these type of solutions and the support that you've needed?
Okay, there's two sides to it. The nice thing is, for the first time in industry, we've got a company that is used to providing data center solutions with extreme high availability. So if any component fails, there's redundancy. The unit just looks after itself. So that normally buys you quite a bit of time. So that already is a solution by itself. On top of that, the fact that we've now started bringing IT into industrial solutions, the younger generation of today, that is what interests them, not typical old power systems and big cables and stuff. So suddenly you've got people interested in learning more about the system, which makes training and transfer of knowledge a lot easier than the conventional systems we've seen. And then third to that is, from training the trainers or training us as solution providers to the backup support, we've had Vertiv in country many times coming to support us, assist us, train us. They're actually in Namibia now next week again doing training on one of the bigger sites. So from a support perspective overall, whether it being parts or whether it being knowledge of the systems, it's not a difficult system, but we've only, our experience up to date is still very good with it.
Thank you, Jaco. So, I mean, as much as I know about industrial automation principles, it takes me back to thinking about SCADA and those type of integration networks. What are we seeing that Vertiv is doing, as far as you mentioned, IT people being brought into the industrial sector now? But what is it that Vertiv is specifically doing that you can maybe share with us on this forum?
Okay, so I'll give an example of what we've done on one of the sites. We know power quality generally in Africa is a bit of an issue. So they've provided a solution where typically you'll have generators standby, etc., for should we have power failures. But unfortunately, in the industrial application space, time is of essence, and some of these systems cannot wait even 30 seconds for these generators to start up. We've now started implementing industrial UPSs, where you've got battery, typical like a BESS solution almost. You've got battery backup, where the moment that system falls out or the power falls out, that system won't even see the transfer to the UPS power. So and that's why I say the providing of solutions is the thing that definitely differentiates them. It's not just, and I think Wojtek actually touched on it a little bit, is Vertiv is a solution provider. It's not somebody or a company that just provides systems. And that is something, unfortunately, the African market is such that not all of us are going to have the same requirement, and they're catering for that, which is good.
Thank you, Jaco. And I would also imagine, if we take products, and what I've personally seen also Vertiv having been busy with, is taking the control modules, like for instance for your crack units and for your UPSs, and making them pretty much the same unit and the same software with the same logic. I imagine that from a maintenance perspective and also a configuration perspective, it makes on-site installation a lot easier, and it makes knowledge transfer a lot easier as well. Would you say that that's one of the main things that you've been working with or working on, Wojtek?
Yeah, absolutely. And to add what Jaco said, it's it's a mix of, I can proudly say, really proper solution from Vertiv, but let's also not forget about the local support that we must provide to our customers. How many times we are now facing or starting a discussion with the customer saying, oh, we know your solution. You don't need to explain us what the solution is. Tell me what your services or maintenance abilities in the country are. Hence, the concept, which is logic for us, and we are proud to have partners like Swakop Electrical, we rely on local partnerships. And that's for us a very, very important model where we bring a proper solution to a country where we need to understand local environment, hence the partnerships with companies like Swakop in country.
Right. Thank you. So we've been seeing a couple of questions come through here specifically, and I think we have addressed it. But maybe if you would like to summarize just for our audience quickly, Wojtek, where people have asked, what is Vertiv's specific product offering or what is Vertiv doing specifically with the products and services that they offer into the African market for the African market? I think there's often a perception that, you know, these things have been developed overseas or out of country, and they're not necessarily applicable in our market or on our continent.
That's a very good question, because you can talk a lot and you can present beautiful slides, but at the end, it's a question of, have you done it already? I think we are lucky. If I look at the whole Vertiv portfolio, and that's not only Europe. I remember 5 years ago, we realized that European portfolio, which is quite wide, is not only the perfect fit for African market. Hence, we started bringing products from Asia Pacific. They have really even better portfolio of products. Some platforms are global, but other products are very unique for specific market units. And we realized that we have some good products from Americas, from Asia Pacific that we can implement in Africa. And I must say that out of this whole portfolio, majority, if not all of the products, have already reference sites in Africa, or will have in the nearest future. And I'm referring now here to battery energy storage system. But I'm proud to say that in whole EMEA, our team, African team, was the first to get the project for battery energy storage system, which we are currently deploying. To summarize, if I would name, say, 3 major technologies or solutions that fit African market, and specifically in commercial and industrial vertical, I would definitely go for battery energy storage system, where we see contribution to power stability, to sustainability targets, reducing dependency on the fuel. And I recall one customer, and I was a bit shocked, because we came with an offer counted in millions of dollars, and a customer says, you know, honestly, I've made a calculation already. The return on investment, if I will invest those millions of dollars, is something between 18 to 24 months. So maybe let's not get shocked by value. Look also at the capex and opex, what you're spending and what you're effectively losing. We need to see the bigger picture. So definitely battery energy storage system as one. Jonah mentioned smart solutions. I'm a big fan of smart solution, and in fact, we brought smart solutions to Africa earlier than it was brought to Europe. On one of the slides, we have a picture when our president was visiting one site in Kenya, and he saw smart solution from Asia Pacific for the first time in his life. And he said, well, hold on a second. So is it like Africa is ahead of Europe? I said, yes, this is what we do. So make no mistakes. For all people that think, oh, America first, then Europe, then Africa, not necessarily. We also can do things in our own way much faster than in other geographies. So smart solution, definitely scalable solution, quick to deploy, guarantees optimum performance of the hardware, especially I recall one banking customer, maybe not necessary for this audience, but one banking customer that brought up the easiness of maintenance, because he's got the same solution in every branch. So of maintenance also comes to play. And the third one, definitely one of our favorites, is modular solutions. We spend a lot of time talking about integrated modular solutions, where we see a shorter and easier project deployment time, again, contribution to sustainability targets, and thing that I'm sure we will be talk more about in different forums, how the same solution can be redeployed, reused. Of course, for the modular solutions, Jono mentioned that it's almost 100% quality proof, because customer will come to the factory for the factory acceptance test. And as I mentioned, fast deployment for those predefined solution, reducing the timelines of the project. And as we all know, planning is sometimes very difficult, and we've been many times in the same trap, saying, okay, we are ready now to order. We've been talking about the project. We are ready to order, but the timelines are still very, very tight. And with the modular solution, we can meet those timelines. So definitely 3 major solutions around battery energy storage systems, smart solutions, and IMS or modular data centers.
Right. So just talking about that, I mean, often there's this impression that modular is a lot more expensive than traditional brick and mortar. What can we tell our audience about that?
Oh, it depends on, I know that customers hate this answer. It depends on the solution or the country, but it really depends on the specific needs. But if I look at Africa as such, we see deployments of modular solutions for global colocation companies that comes from our global relations, and they want very specific modular solution deployed in country, up to very local needs of either telco or a bank, which is yet again very local needs versus global. However, I must also say there are certain customers that say, no, we go brick and mortar always, irrespectively of the cost benefit or faster deployment. We feel comfortable with a brick and mortar solution. So it really depends on a customer. We are happy to sit and provide a calculation and understand what fits customer the best. Sometimes in a very difficult places to put the solution together. One thing comes to my mind in Nigeria, where the data center had to be deployed in a very narrow place in the middle of a city because of the connectivity that was available in that specific space. They will build 3 stories modular solution. Brick and mortar will never work there. Impossible to deploy in such a short space of time. So yeah, difficult to give a definitive answer. I would love to say that IMS is the way to go, but I must be honest, every now and then we see that the brick and mortar solution works best for specific customers.
Of course. And it's also sometimes a personal preference from the customer. Yeah,
absolutely.
If we could just have the results of the poll up, maybe just to have a look as a matter of interest, please, for everyone to have a look see. And then just maybe for the benefit of our audience, all the information that's been shared here, including the PDFs and so on, will be mailed to you post-event. And the event is being recorded, as you've already seen, and you'll have access to be able to go back and obviously target or ask the right questions that you wanted to ask. If we haven't addressed any of your questions, we apologize for that. But the sales team is very eager to make contact with you, I'm sure. So you be able to make contact that way. Let's take a look at this poll over here. Sorry, carry on. Just take a look at this poll over here. It's quite interesting to see that obviously people believe that energy storage systems can reduce the overall electricity spend, and no one has said no, and 23% of the audience is unsure if it would actually do that. I would imagine, as a comment there, that would be horses for courses. What do you think, Jono?
Yeah, definitely. You know, if you look at the ways to what the utilization way you can with the best systems, you can do peak shavings, you can do time of use where you don't want to be on the grid and things like that. So definitely is ways to do saving, and but a lot of that is not properly understood, and how you'll integrate that into your network. So I'm not surprised to see people a fair proportion of people saying they are unsure, but yeah. See the majority, I think, are well in tune with the trends and where we're going.
Interesting.
What I would suggest, yes, if I may, all those unsure ones, come and talk to Jonathan, and maybe you will either
yes.
proceed to no or yes. We are happy to share the knowledge as well, and that's quite important because we see that certain customers are unsure where to go, and it's quite a big responsibility lies on those teams to decide which direction to go, which solution or which product to choose. We are always happy, and John and his team has, I don't know how many millions years of experience. It's basically also proven by a haircut, similar haircut of three of us. Sorry, Nils, you are not in the gang.
Yes.
So, come talk to John or to Jaco locally. We are more than happy to support and share them and be a consultant.
Perfect, thank you. And I just see here, maybe just to quickly sum up this last poll here, that most people are actually looking to or the majority is looking to do their own or direct PV in order to reduce their energy consumption or dependency on fossil fuels. As some are looking at wheeled energy from the grid, or wheeled PV from the grid. And then there is this little other category, and unfortunately we weren't able to delve into what those details are, but there's a lot of talk about fuel cells. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what Vertiv is doing in the sphere of fuel cells, and what are they and how do they work?
Yeah, good comment. So in terms of fuel cells, I mean, we're working obviously with green hydrogen and, you know, as an energy storage mechanism. So instead of using batteries or diesel fuel, if you wanted to have a longer runtime, and yeah, basically the system uses hydrogen, and we're generating the energy to drive, let's say, a UPS or a big inverter, which powers your critical operation and keeps your business going. And even we're looking at technologies in experimental at the moment where you're using solar during the time when you're capturing more than you can consume, but you're generating or creating hydrogen, which you will later use when there is no solar. So we're looking at a lot of different technologies and ways to better harness the energy forms that are available. But yeah, hydrogen is definitely a technology, and these fuel cells that we need to look and watch closely.
I can see Jaco nodding quite furiously there, because obviously Namibia is busy developing a green hydrogen plant down in the southwestern part of Namibia in Luderitz, formerly known as Angra Pequena some 1,000 years ago. Are you able to give us a little bit of insight into that and how you might be sort of working with Vertiv in this, with that project, or is there anything you can tell us about that green hydrogen plant?
Yeah, so there's actually 3 hydrogen plants currently in Namibia. So one in the south, you're talking about the Hyphen Energy one, which is quite a big one. That one's still in infant stage, so still doing quite a bit of work on it. But just maybe for the audience sake, is what happens is they are basically using solar power to take hydrogen out of seawater. So complete green energy, exactly like Jonathan said now. And then that hydrogen basically being used as a storage cell for later energy consumption, whether it being in a ammonia format or whether it being physically pumped into a cell, like what Vertiv's using for the new solution. So then we've also got a couple of modular hydrogen plants that they're busy, let's call it containerized solutions. That's the best way to describe it, that they're busy testing. So we should probably in the next, I would say 6 to 12 months know whether the technology is fully functional, working properly, whether they can convert it successfully. And once that go-ahead has been given, I've spent some time in Europe in the last month, and there's a big hoo-ha about this hydrogen energy coming in, whether it being European companies offsetting carbon credits against it, or whether it being importing of energy into the European market as well. But the source is going to be Africa, it seems. So big opportunity for the African market in hydrogen.
This is always nice to hear in the context of Africa, and especially what you were saying earlier as well, Wojtek. People always have the impression that technologies are developed elsewhere and things are happening elsewhere on the planet except in Africa. And here are some really great examples where Africa is actually at the forefront of all this stuff. So well done, Africa, and well done to the teams that are involved in this. We have one question here that I'd like to just address just high level. Wojtek, if you could, Yusuf is asking us here, what are the requirements needed by someone to partner with Vertiv?
That's a difficult and a simple question, honestly, and thank you for that. Let me get back a couple of years when I started dealing with African. Well, not a couple of years. That was 8 years ago. I started being involved in African business, and first concept was to appoint as many distributors and partners in country as it is possible. So we would go basically. Let's go without a big commitment. Let's try to cover the market with as many distributors and partners as it is.
We've just lost your sound there, Wojtek.
Can you hear me now?
Must be the link.
I can hear
you.
I can hear you, Wojtek.
Can clear you.
Okay. So maybe Niels, maybe that's your link. So to continue. So first concept was the number. Then I think now we are in a stage where we look at the quality of our partnerships in countries, where we talk to our distributors and we understand, because it's a commitment both ways. We are committing to our partner, but our partner also commits to us. And we have many of those discussions where we sit around the table and say, okay, what do we do in a specific market, in a specific country? Do we invest as a Vertiv in additional salespeople or technical support, or we leave it with a partner? And partners are very often willing to invest as well. So it's an open discussion. There is no like a formula that if you tick all the boxes, then you're a perfect candidate for a partner. I must be honest, for new partners, we would always look at the geography or the country where we want to start the partnership, and first see if we have already existing distributors or partners, to make sure that there is no potential conflict. We really value a lot and respect commitments from distributors, sometimes not the very big organizations, but committed to the extent that we respect it a lot. And we always look at this from various perspectives. We are open to new partnerships, make no mistake, but we would look at it, what's on the table, what we can bring to the partner, and what partner can also bring to us, how together we can work in a specific country or geography.
Thank you, Wojtek. That makes perfect sense. We're coming very close to the end of our webinar, unfortunately. I don't know if there's maybe some parting remarks or things that we should still highlight that you would like to tell our audience. I'll just go round robin here quickly in reverse order. Jaco, is there anything that you would like to add?
Just maybe one thing is there's a couple of questions I saw in the use of solar power and even the pole and solar power. And remember, these are DC solutions. So So bringing a DC solution or a solar panel into the system is quite easy. It's literally connecting it on the DC system, and then you just have the inverters basically still firing the AC out. So it's simple solutions that you can fit afterwards. So if you've got a solar solution or solar farm installed, it's still possible to bring these solutions in, and that is something we've seen works extremely well. So it's not separate. It's something you can actually fit afterwards.
So it comes back to that integration thing that Wojtek was talking about earlier, and almost like a mix and match or a hybrid system for that matter. Thank you, Jaco. Jono, anything you'd like to tell the audience still?
Yeah, don't be afraid of the new technology. There's still a lot of development being done, in particular on energy storage, different types of battery technology as well. There was huge scare and concern on lithium, and lithium being potential fire hazards, and yet you see so much of the automotive industry is running big lithium systems. Yeah, so don't be scared. There's new stuff coming, and it's a very exciting space to be in.
Thank you, Jono. And you, Wojtek, what do you need to still tell our audience today?
I would open a bit. Please don't hold it against me. I'm busy driving this business for a number of years, and we are looking at also options or other ways of growing the business. It's not only going with the growth, but what to do to grow even more than the market. So currently, I see in Africa we established the brand quite well. However, there is a lot to do still. And I think next natural step is what I've also mentioned is maintenance, serviceability, making sure that we can, whatever we deliver, we can maintain properly. And with new technologies that both Jaco and Jonathan mentioned, we have to be really careful and on the spot. Because I remember when I started with data center business, if somebody would say, "Oh, let's bring," or there is a water pipe in a white space. People will say, "Are you crazy?" Now we are bringing water to the rack. It's all great. We have a technology. We can implement it tomorrow. The question is, will we be able to maintain it properly? So in my personal opinion, there should be a lot of focus on the maintenance side, on the services side. That's one of our top priorities, how we can make sure that that whatever we deliver, we maintain properly. And on the other side, I'm thinking how to copy paste the concept that we already have in Africa, local manufacturing of those DC power solutions, hybrid solutions, how we can do more localization. Because it's all fine saying that we have products for Africa, but if those products for Africa are manufactured somewhere else, it blurs the picture. So I'm busy looking at options, how we can localize more, how we can empower local communities, how we can work with local partners to make sure that we can assemble something locally. That's definitely one of the focus points. And commercial and industrial market, and must be honest, which was a bit neglected by us because of the boom on the colocation and telco side. Now we will pay more attention to it. That's my commitment, personal commitment, and a company commitment in Africa. We'll definitely look at how we can support customers from that market better, how we can build the team. Do we need to build a team, or is what we've got enough, or we need to add something else? And as I said at the beginning, I think we are bringing to Africa a global experience and expertise with understanding of local environment through our partnerships with the local distributors. So I think we've got a good recipe for success. And now it's a time for success to come.
Thank you, Wojtek. Well, we wish Vertiv well. And thank you to all our panelists for being here today and for your expertise. Enjoy Windhoek. And I understand, Jaco, you still have a distance to drive today, so drive safely, please.
Thank you.
And And over to you, Shannon.
Thanks so much, Nils. That brings us to the end of the webinar. Thank you to Nils Gerstle for chairing this session, and to our panelists Wojtek, Piorko and Jonathan Duncan from Vertiv, and Jaco Duvenhage from Swakop Electrical for their input into the discussion. Thank you so much to the attendees for taking the time to join us for this discussion on power-related industrial challenges and the Vertiv solutions to overcome these challenges. Vertiv has been keeping the world's leading businesses connected for more than 50 years. If you're interested in learning more about Vertiv, please visit the website at www.vertiv.com. We'll also be sharing some documents and brochures for you to download and read at your leisure. You can look out for that in the email with the recording link, which will be made available to all stakeholders. And if you have any additional questions, please be in touch. You can reach us at shannon@creamermedia.co.za.